What's going on, everybody? It is another episode of Digging Deeper with the PB family. We got James as the co-host, and we got Mr. Billiam from Billiams Golden Tales. How we doing this evening,
Hello,
everybody?
everyone. Doing great, doing great.
Good deal. Well, to start the podcast off this evening, let's go ahead and say hi to some of the PB family. And if you are not a PB family member, go ahead and jump over to Prospecting Buddy and become a PB family member. We got it. What's that, Billiam?
I said, do it.
Do it to it. That's
Do
right.
it.
That's right. We got Mr. Frank Higgins in the house. We got Joe Brickner. What's up, bro? Rob McGuire.
All great.
We got Paul Gray. What's going on? How you guys doing this evening?
Looks like we got Malcolm Robertson from Australia. That's looking good.
Mr. Malcolm Roberts. Wowzers, all the way over there. I love it.
Nice.
Love it. Let's see. We got Keith Roop over from Pennsylvania. What's up, brother, man? Good to have you on the podcast this evening. Let's see. We got Rick Stash. He says, just got home from a long hike, just in time for the fun. That's right, man. That's what I'm talking about. Let's see. Who else we got? Jonathan. Hey, what's up, cousin? That is good cousin of mine. Family, man. Let's see. Jay Waz. What's up, brother? Good to have you on the podcast this evening. Let's see. All right. So, Jay Wells, what's up, brother? What's up? All right. So, we have special guest, Mr. Billiam from Billiam Golden Tales. So, this guy, I've been watching since day one. So, he became a PB family member. And over time, I've been watching his videos, you know, all the stuff that he kind of posts, and he goes out and does this thing prospecting. And, you know, he caught my eye. You know, he's one of those guys that loves to get out there and get dirty just like the rest of us and enjoy his time out there while he has it, you know. So it was only a matter of time before we got him on the podcast and kind of picked his brain a little bit. Right, James?
Yeah, that's right. That's what we do.
That's what we do. That's what we do. That's right. All right, so looks like we got a couple more people that jumped on. Mr. Michael Crawford, what's up, brother, man? Malcolm says, love y'all, buddies. Hey, we love you too, man. All the way from over here to over there. We love you too, brother, man. So, to start the podcast off with the most infamous question of them all, as everybody knows, how did Mr. Billiam get started in gold prospecting, and what made you continue the quote-unquote gold fever?
Well, let's see. It all started, I think, when I was really, really small, tiny. And I had a very unhealthy fear of water. And so we used to have a cabin down at Christina Lake here in BC near Grand Forks and in between like Grand Forks, Greenwood area. And when all my cousins and family members and everybody were out swimming and water skiing, I was this skinny little scared boy in his little Superman swimming trunks, laying in the very shallows of the water, looking for shiny rocks. That was all I wanted to do. What's that, James?
I had those swimming trunks. I remember those.
I wish maybe I'll wear them in a video coming up. Who knows, right?
Hey, there you go. Now we're talking.
Yeah. And so ever since then, I've just loved it. Like I've always, instead of paying attention to where I'm supposed to be going when I'm walking, my head is down. I'm looking for rocks. My pockets are always full. You know, it was just an obsession instantly. And then as I got older, I started to learn that my father, he worked in a mine. My cousin was a geologist. I think I shared that article there on Prospecting Buddy.
Yep.
And it was just all around me. And then the family owned a bunch of mines in Greenwood. And I always just thought about how cool it would be to live in a little shack in the woods, you know, and just look for gold. Little did I know
that. Holy moly, amen for that.
Yeah. But so I actually found some gold. I lost track of the whole prospecting thing for a few years, you know, as we all do when we're in our 20s, say, or whatever. And
life gets in the way.
Oh, totally. And then I ended up in the Yukon for a year.
Wow. Holy moly.
So in the Yukon, the guy I was working for, he's like, I was talking about gold and just certain things, and he said, "Oh, here's an old metal gold pan." He goes, "You won't find any gold out here. Nobody ever has." Kind of, just kind of shitting on the dream. So my buddy Tyler and I, we decided, well, let's go find some creeks. We're in the Yukon, so there's creeks everywhere.
Oh
So
yeah.
we set out, and lo and behold, boom, there was some shiny in the pan. And I was just super stoked that I had found some pieces of mica. But that's what started
the false dream.
Yeah, exactly. But I've been chasing it ever since. And my family, like we grew up on the coast and stuff here, Vancouver area, but they moved back here to the Kootenays, and it's just a lot of gold history here, a lot of mining history. And so I made my way back, and I've just been searching for that elusive shiny rock ever since. For probably at least the last 15 years.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. And so to take the viewers back just for a second, back to that part where you said, you can't go home with an empty pocket, so to speak, with finding the specimens, I think that's every single gold prospector. I mean, every single one of us, we're always looking for those extra little things, and we happen to come across it all the time. And, we bring it back home. And it's funny, actually, I have quite a few pieces here. I can sit here. I can sit here and show you. Let's see if I can get it in my hand without it falling here.
Yeah.
I got so many different specimens here that have, all sorts of different types of minerals in it. And, I think that's every single gold prospector. I think every single one of us like, ooh, that's a nice one. Ooh, that's a nice one. Ooh. Absolutely. And so then, we bring it home and we think, okay, I got this rock from this place, this rock from this place, and it's kind of memento of when you went out with this person or that person, James, you know exactly what I'm talking about, brother,
Oh yeah, you know me, man. Quartz. There's quartz there. There's quartz there.
And it's funny too. Yeah, and it's funny too because it's like, there is days where you don't find gold, but there is days where you go home with a pocket full of rocks. A pocket full of specimens.
But you give me gold today? No, but I got a pocket full of these really
should I crush it? Should I keep it? Yeah.
A lot of times when I'm at the creek, I'll be using a 5-gallon pail to classify into.
Right.
And I'll have a shit day, find nothing, but somehow I end up with a 5-gallon pail of rocks on my porch or something like that. So we're in the middle of moving right now. We just bought a place here on the Columbia River. Absolutely gorgeous. So I can go in my yard and pan, basically.
That's awesome.
But the heaviest part of the move was lugging all my buckets of rocks in the truck. Just for days. Rocks. It's crazy.
Your old lady's like, what the hell are you doing, man? Toss some of these. You're like, no, those are my babies.
That's right. It doesn't matter
what do you want me to do with this bucket?
Okay.
Nothing. Leave that bucket.
Put it in the truck and do not touch it.
Oh man, totally.
Oh man. No, it's funny that it's funny with that instance because if you look in my garden bed, if you look at all the places around my house. Yeah, I have mementos from when we went to Riggins, Idaho. I have mementos from Montana. And it's funny because, I'll have friends that come over every once in a while. They'll be like, hey, that's a pretty cool rock. I'm like, yeah, there's a big story behind that rock, as a matter of fact.
Almost everyone, yeah.
This is the one rock we didn't put back in that hole.
I saw a post. It's actually pretty funny. I saw a post not too long ago on Facebook, and it showed a weightlifter grabbing this massive boulder, and it said something along the lines of, "Honey, I got to bring this home," and that just plays into us 100%. Because if we find something, no matter how big or small it is, we bring that freaking bad boy home. It's an absolute momentum. So so it's absolutely hilarious. So on to the next subject here. So you weren't much of a swimmer. You didn't really like doing all that. So you stayed back on the beach, area, and you were looking for rocks and stuff like that. And then through your 20s, you said, you kind of got lost in prospecting. You kind of, as we all are in our 20s. Life gets in the way. We have a ton of other things going on. We are trying to build our future. We're trying to do this, that, and the other. So so you're in your 20s, you finally find some shiny in your pan in your 20s out in the Yukon. What essentially made you make that decision? Okay, hey, I'm going to go and do this as much as I possibly can. Obviously, finding the shiny in the pan motivated you very much to do so. But when you got back home, what kind of was going through your head as far as, hey, I really want to do this as much as I can. I really, really genuinely enjoy this.
Well, I guess as you've seen my videos, I like being alone, and I like doing things alone. And, it's kind of like a meditation for me, for lack of better terms, where I can go out and you can just kind of process all your thoughts, and back to the rock thing too. When you look down and you see all these different rocks, all these different minerals all around you, your brain is thinking about each and every single one of those things. And it becomes greater than any problems or stresses that you may have. And so when I found that just going to the creeks and rivers and learning about panning and just learning how to read the rivers and creeks, I found just peace. I found peace, basically, in that. And I think that's what really propelled me forward into continuing on. Obviously, the shiny was a big thing. Like when you find
as always,
it's a treasure, right? It's a treasure. You find it and you're like, what the hell? Because the last person to do this here was in 1874 or something like that.
Right. A lot of history just to that little bit of gold you find in the pan. That golden smile. There's tons of history. Tons.
And every single piece is different and unique.
And every single piece has its own story.
Yeah,
that's what's so alluring to it. Is when you find that little piece, or even a picker like Stephen. Stephen Bertrand, love you, brother. When you find those pieces, or that little golden smile, depending on mesh size. I mean, even with the smallest of the small stuff, you still have such a historic value to that little bit of gold. Because you're not the first person. You won't be the last person.
That's right.
And you don't know how many, years and years and years of people doing the same thing you've done in the same creek in the same spot.
Yeah. Exactly.
So not only are you finding such an amazing mineral, you're also finding a piece of history.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that, funny enough, plays into that gold fever aspect. You find it, you bring it back home, and then, you collect it as always. And you have a friend that comes over and you say, hey, you want to see something? And bam, now you have an amazing conversation piece that you guys can talk about for hours and hours and hours. And it creates that better human connection between your friends, your family, all of your loved ones. So, I mean, all around the spectrum, 360 degrees with prospecting and mining and dredging and all that stuff that plays into the part of finding that elusive gold, you're creating connections the whole process, from finding it all the way up to collecting it from, beyond, So
for sure.
It's an amazing thing. It varies in how much, and how much of the human connection you can create just through finding even the smallest amount up to the biggest amount.
Yeah.
And that's aside from the monetary aspect, aside from, doing it for profit, there's just so many more aspects to the elusive AU that a lot of people don't really truly understand, and by being able to bring more people into it and show them, hey, this is what this is the history of the land, it gets people intrigued.
Mhm.
It gets people curious and excited and wanting to learn more about it.
Yeah.
So no, that's absolutely awesome. So let's go back a little bit. So you go ahead and contact your buddy. You're like, hey, let's go ahead and do this. Let's find a place to go ahead and do this at. You guys start planning trips to go out there, whether it's on the weekday or weekend or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
What led you up to China Creek? What led you up there and had you start prospecting that area?
A few things. So, and I guess it would have been 2005. My folks retired, and they built a house, and they're I don't know, a few hundred yards right from China Creek. And
Wow.
I came up here to help them, and they're also like a few hundred yards from the Columbia River, so they're right at the intersection there. And
Right.
yeah, and so I started talking to some people around here, and they were telling me about that when the railroad was being built through here, prospectors went up and they hydroblasted all the upper part of China Creek, and I was for gold, and I was just, of course, flabbergasted. So I went on a hike up there with my friend's son, and we went deep into the bush up China Creek, and I saw this crazy wave of rock, and it just struck me. I'm like, holy shit. So that's what bedrock is. Like, I had no idea at that point kind of what I was looking for.
Can you explain a little bit? Sorry to cut you off. Can you explain a little bit more of the composition, the layout, kind of,
Sure.
how much more taller it was from, water line, stuff like that?
Yeah. So, let's see. We came to the edge of a cliff. Sort of a cliff, wasn't full 90 degrees, but close to it. And I looked over, and you could see just the smooth, bulbous, God, how can I do it on the camera? It kind of came down and then out like that, and then down this rock wall. And then as it came into the creek, you'd see these huge humps in the creek and big cracks all the way through it, all the way across, and just tumbles like little pockets of gravel everywhere. And it probably was sitting out of the water at that point, because it was the summer, 7-8 feet above the water line at that point, and we were probably 50-60 feet up this embankment looking down at it. So I didn't get down to that area until a couple years later, at least a couple years later. And then I went straight up the creek this time, and it's crazy because it's a pretty wide creek to begin with, but as you the deeper into the mountain you get, the walls just start to kind of close in around you and start to go up. And then it's just a totally different formation. It almost reminds me of marble in that spot. Yeah, it's really, really cool. It's a super light gray. There is quartz in it, or it's got to be quartz. It's not going to be calcite, not in bedrock, I don't think. Not in that spot. And it's just, it's like being in a skate park almost. It's just all over the place. It's so crazy.
Right.
Looks amazing, but when you stay there a little bit too late and the sun goes over the horizon,
you're Dundee.
It's you got to know the way out on the creek, because there's no way you're going out in the bush at that point, right? But it's so wild. And then from the bedrock, it just kind of cliffs off down into the ground.
Right.
I show it I don't show it on China Creek, but I show it at Sullivan Creek, where my claim is, which is just basically right beside China Creek. How the mountain kind of comes straight down, and all the gravels are packed up against it, and that's what the creek is running. So I kind of, if I'm ever allowed, I'd love to sure dig down that and see what's underneath there, because bound to be something.
Yeah, so you ended up seeing all of this. You got super excited. You and your buddy really want to get down there and dig it. My next question would be, is that area claimed up? Is it a claim that's already? Okay, so with that being said, you saw it, you were super excited about it. What was your next decision making to find a place that wasn't claimed up, or a claim that you had access to be able to, obviously, pan for the elusive AU?
Yeah. I just started talking to people online, was the first way, like just to see what was going on. And then my wife, actually, one of her coworkers, her husband, is a huge miner.
Oh, wow.
Big time placer miner. He's into hard rock mining, all sorts of things. And so I tried to go on to what we have here in Canada is MTO online. It's mineral titles. And it has all these different layers on a map. And you kind of have to sift through all this garbage just to figure out what's going on. And he's an expert at it.
Wow. Wow.
So he was just like, here's a couple right beside where you live. Boop, boop, claimed them, bought them, done. And
really?
yeah. So now we have them. So it's good.
That's awesome. So, you have claims to be able to jump on and, obviously have some fun on. At this point in time in your life, were you able to contact the folks with the first spot that you saw with the quote unquote Kelly hump? Have you been able to contact them or anything like that?
No, that's mainly staked by Tech Kaminko or Tech Metals. We have a big smelter here.
Oh, so it's a company.
Yeah, massive.
Oh.
And this area right here, like China Creek is right where I am right now. My claim is only a kilometer down the road on Sullivan Creek, but all up in those mountains is all your uranium is what they wanted to mine.
Wow, are you serious?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And with that, I mean, now talking about that, I mean, I want to go look for gems and, smoky quartz and stuff, because that's all associated with that.
Yeah.
But it got stopped because obviously, like, this is an aquifer. That's where everyone gets their water. So
holy moly,
finding uranium and,
yeah,
you get a third eye here and
an extra ear, maybe another arm.
So no, I haven't contacted them. All I do up there on China Creek is just shovel and pan. Like here in BC, and I think the rest of Canada, if I'm not mistaken, we're not even allowed to run river sluices. Just those fold out sluices.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hand and pan.
That's right. So that's why you see some of my camera shots are a little funny in my videos, right? Because sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
If you're testing a spot and you're way off the river, but there's a little trickle, especially in spring. If you want a high bank up there, you got to, right? Like that's the only way you can.
So,
but we are beholden by rules here.
So you don't. So my next question would be, go for it, James.
I was just agreeing. How are you really supposed to test a spot?
Exactly.
Right. Right. And my next question would be, so here in Washington State, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
So we're basically down to hands and pans ourselves. I mean,
right.
Trying to beat around the bush, so to speak, is damn near impossible and almost a waste of time. So, with that being said, we are still allowed to be able to get specific permits to be able to run specific equipment. I'm not going to get into detail with it, any of that, but it's a nightmare with that being said. And I'm pretty damn sure I haven't checked the regs, and probably, to be honest, this whole last year I haven't even checked the regs. I'm usually over in Idaho, Montana. I just said the hell with Washington. It's just a tough situation. But and I know there's some folks on here watching right now that could definitely break down some rules for us. But
absolutely.
With that being said, do you guys over there in Canada have any sort of permits that you can go through, jump through hoops to be able to get?
Absolutely, yeah. You can get machine permits, and where you can run excavators and bulldozers on placer claims.
Okay.
You have to be you can run a high banker at any time.
Wow.
But you have to be, I believe it's 30 meters from the water or 30 feet from the water's edge.
Correct, yeah.
We're always far away. Our hoses are long, so we don't worry about it. And plus, there's always smokies or something to smoke up by the high banker. So it's easy to go down, dig a bucket, and go back up and have a break, right? What else? Well, we can dredge in. I know of one river here in BC that we can dredge in that's allowed. It's the Pend Oreille. That's where I found my first actual nugget. Got that
Wow.
on video, which was cool. I didn't find it myself, but it could have been him in the shovel I was using. Like, who knows?
You never know, man.
But they gave it to me, and I was like, "This is awesome, thanks." Right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, but you can apply for all these permits for sure.
You can.
If they're like, you
good.
can't destroy like native plants, I guess, without having an expert come out and check it out and make sure that you're not going to just. It's just they just don't want to see you destroy anything. And reclamation is huge here, especially in BC, right? I don't know. It's like that for you guys too, isn't it?
It is. It's massive.
Yeah, reclamation is huge. Yeah,
and I agree with it. I'm a firm believer, and I think if the hobbyist or small-time miner does his part and does his due diligence and follows all the rules as best as they can, then hopefully in the future there could be a separation between these big companies, these big corporations, and us.
Yeah.
Right. So if we want to run a little river sluice, like if we get the creek tested and it's not fish bearing, then you should be able to run that.
I think with this day and age, that's one of the topics that I do have to touch on now that it is brought up. To be honest, I think it's going to take much more than that. I think it's going to take us small-time prospectors and weekend warriors and small-time miners and dredgers to basically stand up and go to the meetings and, speak your voice. I mean, Prospecting Buddy itself as a family has grown to much more than what I ever imagined it being. And that's a voice, and we're still in our infancy. We're still in such a small scale of what our mission is and what our vision is. And, right now in this day and age, like I said, is the only thing that's going to change the rules and regulations is us.
Yep.
Our family, our, connecting with this person and that person and just getting this mass family of miners and prospectors and dredgers to really come together, not just say we are, but really actually come together, join the meetings, go to the meetings, speak your voice, bring factual data and evidence to be able to overturn things, because all of us can sit here and say, hey, we'd love to do this and we'd love to do that. But unfortunately, our system that we have set up for our state, they make the rules. Well, we can change those rules. They work for us. We don't work for them.
That's right.
They work for us. And it's only a matter of time before we're able to change a lot of those laws in a lot of different states. But the only freaking way we're going to, and I can't express this enough, the only way we're going to be able to do that is by standing up in unity.
Yeah.
Because you can have 5 people here and 10 people here, go to a meeting or go to this or go to that, and it's not going to make a difference. But if you have a mass following, just like you see with anything in the media nowadays, you see the I don't want to touch too much on the quote unquote cancel culture, but you see so much of that nowadays. It's like, now's our time to act. Now's our time to jump on the opportunity to really show the and I say actual factual evidence for the spawning, for the reclamation. Now is the time to freaking act. And so with that being said, PB has shifted in such a good positive direction with the family we have in multiple different states and multiple different regions, that we now have the opportunity to do what we need to do to be able to change those rules and regulations and actually bring facts to the table instead of just talking about it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So it's a matter of time, man. I mean, we all have the same vision in mind. We all have the same purpose that we do positively want to change in a lot of different states, but the only way to be able to do so is to create a family to come together as one, as a unity.
Yeah.
That's literally the only freaking way to be able to change these rules and regulations. And in today's world, it's extremely hard to do so. But if you come in masses and you come in a full force, you are able to change things that need to be changed in multiple states or regions. Period.
Yep,
I've seen it done.
Just have to use their own playbook against them.
That's right. Yeah.
Things to stop what we like to do, we have to do it the same way in reverse. And part of that lobbying is having people that are willing to go to wherever we are, the States versus Canada. I don't know the difference in how laws get made between the two countries, but a lot of the states, Montana, I know, Washington's another one that have voter initiative. That means you come up with an idea, you go out, you get the signatures, and you make sure that nobody's signing it twice to invalidate it, anything like that. And if you get
correct data,
you get enough, then you can get it on your next general ballot.
Absolutely.
Perfect example of that. That's exactly how Montana passed their medical marijuana program and their recreational. They said enough with legislature. They're not doing anything. They went with voter initiative, and it took them 2 tries, and it went through. That's the same thing that has to happen with mining.
It's people standing up.
We have to stand up and say,
that's right.
It's proven dredging isn't hurting anything. We clean the streams better than the environment.
It doesn't hurt, and it's helping.
Big companies do. They get like a 70% hard metal recovery.
Right.
And the dredgers were doing 90 or better.
Wow.
So who's doing a better job of cleaning up the creek?
Lead, all sorts of other minerals, and
well, you see it all the time in everybody else's videos that like when they do panning videos. Oh, I pulled some lead out, or I shot, or look at this mercury covered gold, it's gone. All that.
We pulled batteries. All right,
batteries.
We were pulling AA batteries, AAAs, and 9 volts out of the creek.
Oh yeah,
wild.
Yep.
Wild.
Yep.
There's a guy here in Canada who is sort of doing that now. He's not a miner by any means or a prospector. You may have heard of him. He has a group on Facebook, Exploring Abandoned Mines.
Yeah.
He also has one on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's Frank, right? He's out of Grand Forks. And he goes into these abandoned mines and he shows like all the junk that's left over, the dynamite, like the blast caps and stuff like that. And he holds their feet to the fire. So and those mines are big mines. They're not little mines, right? These are always going
miles and miles and miles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And when even in here in BC, I've seen like videos about claim jumping. I had somebody jump my claim here in town. And you know what? They didn't like leave diesel cans around. They didn't set fires to anything.
They were very respectful, which is 1 in 100, but they were very respectful.
Exactly.
Right.
But the big corporations, you do see a lot of disrespect. It's underground mainly, and they can hide it, and then they leave it, right?
And they don't care, and that's the crazy thing. We're not going to get into full blown details with company names and whatnot, but me and James ran into a lot of that. We ran into a lot of different situations with that problem, and the sad thing is instead of properly investigating and coming to an agreement, it was, hey, this is what we're doing, and you're not allowed to be here, and that's the gist of it. And we've had a lot of different naysayers that said differently and this, that, and the other, but at the end of the day, I had my boots on the ground.
Right.
I had my boots on the ground, so I knew and I know exactly the situation at hand, so companies, and we can't speak for all companies, because there is, the 3 or 4 percenters that do their due diligence with making sure to help, right? But there is that other percentage, which is much more massive percentage, who just doesn't give a shit. And not only does it make the world in the forests, in the streams, a worse place, but it also makes us look, as weekend warriors, prospectors, miners, dredgers, it makes us look horrible.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's a tough, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because, if you don't have unity and you don't have a family to be able to back you with any of the legislation that you're trying to bring to the table, then, they can bring up stuff that's sitting on their table, that's been sitting on their table for years and years and years. You see what I mean? So it makes it a tough double-edged sword, but at the end of the day, we're miners, we're prospectors, we're dredgers, and we're not going to stop. It's something that we're passionate about, something that we get excited about, and something that we're happy to do when we go home with more lead than we do gold.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's only one cure for the fever, and that is going to try to find some more.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
keep going. There's no shot. There's no miracle cure. It's just every piece we find is going to make us want to find that next piece.
Yeah,
that's right.
Exactly.
I got a ticker. I got a growler. I got a nugget. Oh boy, I got a 0.6. Woohoo!
Oh yeah, no,
yeah.
Look at big old Dave Verbeoff, right? I mean, look at
oh my goodness, Mr. Dave.
The guy goes 17 months.
Yeah.
There's gold fever, right? 17 months between it, but what a great payday in 17 months.
Yeah, and then he pulls out a $275,000 piece of gold crystalline.
Hey, Billiam, did you watch that? Did you watch that episode?
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. I rewatched.
I don't know. I think he just shits gold, honestly.
Yeah, I think he does. I think his skin cells fall off and become gold. I think he's the next Rumple fucking Stiltskin.
Right. Yeah.
King fucking Midas, man.
Oh man.
Oh shit. So
if you're watching, Dave, that's with love, all right? That's all with love.
That's love, brother, man. I know he's watching. I don't doubt it one bit. I know he's sitting there with all of his specimens around him, lighting the fucking room up. Yeah, you don't even need a light on. Yeah, you don't even need a light on. The gold's just fucking lighting his room up right now.
Meanwhile, we got 5-gallon buckets of rocks, but hey, we're close.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we got handfuls of the other stuff here. Oh shit.
Oh man.
Holy hell. So we're gonna go ahead and jump back real quick.
Okay.
So China Creek. So China Creek. So you guys decide to finally get over there, start turning over some rocks, start digging behind some boulders, looking around at the landscape. What would you possibly say to any of the viewers that are either new or not new? What are the kind of things that you were looking for, even as a beginner prospector? What were the kind of things that you were looking for on China Creek to get you to the point where you were actually finding gold?
Okay, yeah, just a few simple things actually. Big boulders. When you're looking at the creek and the water's coming towards you, you want to look for those big boulders, and the part of the boulder that's closest to you, which is the back, that's where you want to dig, is under those things. Anything that's tightly packed gravels. I was looking for, believe it or not, tree roots. If I were to see a little bit of slough in the land on the side and some exposed tree roots on the bank, because you know that the water was way up there at some point.
Right.
Digging in there was somewhere I always wanted to look, right? I was looking for tree roots, huge boulders, and cracks in bedrock. That was the three main things that I looked for.
And it's funny you bring that up. James, what is the one thing that I told you that I love to look for?
Big boulders. You love big boulders. And
geez. Now you're making me sound. No. Now it's turning into a different aspect here. No, I'm just kidding. The one thing that I was telling James that I absolutely love to do, I know a lot of prospectors and weekend warriors and whatever you want to call it. I know a lot of folks dig for specific things, right? They have their goal plan laid out. They get out there and they do their thing, right? For me, I look for roots. I look for, weeds. I look for, trees that are just now sprouting. I look for, and I like to dig up that stuff. And actually, I take those roots and I put it in the pan and I shake the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Because to me, I look at it as a natural, quote unquote, moss trap system. where those smaller pieces or those fines will get trapped within that root system and will sit there and get stuck, right? So for me, whenever I get out to a new place to prospect, I always look for that extra, because you could dig in a creek bed for hours and hours and hours and find, tiny bits here and there. And then next thing you know, you're like, oh, let me dig up some of the weeds over here. Yeah. And boom, you find just a nice juicy amount of the smaller mesh stuff once you get to panning. So, and I've had very good luck with that. Very good luck. I go up north near the Canadian border where, personally I'm about 10, 15 miles away from the Canadian border. Yeah. And, I've had very, very good luck in the root system.
Oh yeah.
The root system, on a wraparound on a creek is just, it blows my mind the amount you can find in a root system, because little beknown to a lot of people, roots are, they can grow and be extremely deep in a creek system. And that's a blockage in which those fines can be stuck. Those fines are raging down and boom, get stuck right into the root system.
That's right.
And you pull that root system up and you shake that bad boy out and bam, you got some good, good smaller mesh pieces of gold.
Yep.
And
my wife and I, when we were living on Vancouver Island, more on the west coast there, we went down to a creek and we found some roots that were growing into this bedrock, the shale type bedrock. And it was breaking apart like Frisbee size slices, layered. And we were digging out the little stuff in there, cleaning the roots, and we were finding gold right there. This is a spot where people were swimming, and partying, and we're just like
a spot you never thought would have gold.
Yep. Yeah, we just took our dogs there to have a shit or something, and look, there's some gold, right? So
boom.
It's crazy. Yeah, moss. I saw Malcolm Roberts is saying moss. Yeah, moss. Of course,
even the moss on rocks.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the best days I've had have been just digging that sort of stuff up.
Same here, and that's what's freaking hilarious about it. My little vial here with a shitty camera view. Hey, I got the lid on this bad boy, so it ain't going nowhere. But this is some of the stuff.
Hey, that looks like some of the stuff I dropped in the Columbia last weekend.
It probably is some of your stuff. I own some of your gold. No. But let's go over some of the comments real quick, and then we'll go ahead and jump on a quick 5-minute break so we can hit the restroom, grab some water and whatnot, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
Let's see here. So we're going to – what's that, James?
He didn't tell you the truth. What he really wants to find is a blown over tree.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's what he's
when you see that massive root system and you see that type of clay / dirt, and that's what's funny is we went to James's second claim, right?
Yep.
And we were poking around. I gotta explain this real quick, because James, you can't just leave a cliffhanger there and expect me not to jump off that son of a bitch.
Well, so I know. That's why I do it.
Yeah. Okay. So, so we were digging around. We were just messing around, looking for, some good samples. And, we weren't coming up too much. We were coming up with a piece here, a piece there. And I saw a really nice tree that had been knocked over from the season beforehand, I'm sure. And there was this nice chunky bits of clay / dirt. I wouldn't call it clay too much because it broke apart really easily, but I know that there was some type of composition in it. Mm-hmm. But, I was looking at it and I didn't think too much of it. And I kept looking at it for about a good 2-3 hours. I'm like, the freaking hell with it. I grabbed my old famous 10-inch classifier or my 10-inch gold pan. Everybody hates it. They're like, oh, you can't get enough dirt in that bad boy to get a sample. Well, you're right. But guess what? I love the thing because it doesn't hurt my arthritis. But anyways, so I grabbed my little 10-inch. I go over there and I put some dirt in that bad boy. I'm like, all right, well, it's worth a test, right? So, I'm going to town, finally get to the bottom, boom, gold. And we're talking good color.
Really?
Good color.
Nice.
So everybody's like, okay, right where this bad boy is rooted, we're digging down.
Absolutely.
So we eventually ended up digging down. What was it, about 5.5 feet deep, James?
Wow.
It was about hand power, 5.5 feet deep by about 7 feet wide and about, I don't know, 4.5 feet long, give or take. And we were finding good color. We were finding really good color, but we had noticed that the layer composition had changed. So the initial layer composition was about 2.5, now about 1.5 feet to 2 feet deep. Mm-hmm. And then after that 2.5 feet, it became a different composition, obviously. And that other composition didn't have really anything.
Yep.
And then we got a little bit deeper, and we started seeing the gold again. So back to the subject, if you see a fallen over tree with the roots sticking out and you see big pieces of dirt in that bad boy, test it out. What do you got to lose?
Exactly.
You don't have a thing to lose. You test it out, and then if you do get good color, bam, you now know exactly where your hole is to start digging down and doing your 4-foot increments, your 5-foot increments, and you can go from there. Yeah. But funny story, man. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Let's see. So we're gonna start off with. Oh wow, we got a bunch of comments. 100 comments already. Let's see here. Jeffrey Quarter says, "Evening all." Let's see. Joe says, "Sure, some fly poop could be identical, but under a scope, it is so defined. Even the fly poop has so much definition."
Yeah.
Let's see. Joe says, "I dream about bedrock." Facts. Love it.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Jay says, "Love to see pics of that." And I'm assuming that is the China Creek situation that we were talking about earlier. Let's see. Jay says, "I live in Maine. You can do whatever you want. That would be nice."
I'm moving to Maine.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's bring the 4-inch over there and let's just rip some shit up, man.
Get over here, Jared. We'll get the 4-inch.
We're taking a trip to Maine now.
Let's go over to Maine.
Holy shit. Let's see here. Chuck Bauer from Canada says, "Yes, we can get different permits for different things." Mm-hmm. Awesome. Jay says, "I hope so. I'm new to prospecting. Went out 3 times and I'm hooked." Unfortunately, brother, you're going to be hooked for the rest of your life.
That's
so
it's over.
Strap that seatbelt on and be ready for the ride.
Yeah.
The adventure begins now.
Oh, yeah. Holy moly. Rick says, "Don't think we can get permits to run a high banker in Washington anymore, though. I don't doubt it."
What?
I don't doubt it. Let's see. Jay says, "I'm 45, blaming it on a midlife crisis." I'm going to go ahead and blame it on gold fever crisis, right?
Yeah.
So instead of midlife, you put in gold fever crisis and everything's okay, right? Everything's perfectly fine here. Let's see here. Joe says, "I think the rules will only get worse. Imagine how many people flooded out California when they stopped at all. Went to next state, which doubled and tripled amount of dredging. So they shut the state down. So you got both those states going on to the next state and so on. Flooded out with dredging, sink everyone's dream." Well, Joe, that sounds about right. But I tell you what, we have an awesome amount of PB family growing. We just hit, and I wrote it down, 3.1K members.
Nice.
We're at 3,100 members across the United States and across the regions in different provinces. So I promise you, things will turn to the best here in the next few years.
14 months?
Yeah, so we started last August 13th, I want to say. August 13th of last year, I want to say.
That's
or the year before that. I don't remember. Holy moly. It's been a while already. But, 3.1K members. So I promise you, Joe, things will change. Promise you. Let's see here. Chuck Butler says, "Hey, guys. Hey, Billiam." Hey. What's up, Chuck Butler? Let's see. Stephen Bertrand says, "Never enough gold hashtag." Yes, my man. That is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Malcolm Roberts has found some good shiny around tree root. Tree root is where it's at. I promise you. Let's see here. Malcolm says, even the moss on rocks. Yes, indeed. Believe it or not, you probably won't find much because moss doesn't have a good expandancy on life. As a I don't even know what you would call it, as a living organism itself. But yes, that is definitely plausible.
Especially in spring, like late spring, early summer, the flood gold.
Yes,
up
gets
in there.
trapped right there. Yep.
That's about your only time, right? So.
Yep. Robert E. Lee says, I have your tree set aside, James. I have your tree set aside. Holy shit. Robert, I love you, man. I can't wait to go and meet your ass over there. Jeez Louise.
Yes.
Let's see. Rick says, question, how deep do you typically dig down to as you are digging on a creek, Mr. Billiam?
Well, here in BC, we're only allowed to go down like 3.5 feet. So that's about it. And then
question is answered.
Yeah, if you go to like, you can go lower and lower down the bank, and then obviously you're going to get deeper, and you can go into the bank sideways, which we've done many times. So then if you have a hole, say 4 feet away, that's 3.5 feet deep, and then you're 4 feet away, you dig down 3.5 feet, you can actually get into the side and start seeing what like the composition of like the gravel layers and the sand layers and all that, clay layers. Yeah, exactly.
And that's
kind of see.
Yeah, that's the fun part. When we went over to Riggins, it was actually really cool because the road you take into where we were actually going to dig at and whatnot had an old ancient layer. Right, you drive right through, and this wall right here that you drive through, you could physically see the layers of the different composition of the old. Yeah, it was and I told my my old lady, I said, I'd love to take a couple buckets home. The problem is the layer I wanted to get to was about 30 freaking feet up in the damn air. So I'm like, yeah, that's not happening. So
that's why you need a long stick. You just start poking at it,
Right. That's what I'm saying. Bring like a long ass, chunks, you could screw in and just, get up there and
exactly.
A question like that though, how deep to get to bedrock? That's really depends where you're digging.
Oh, you could go miles.
Yeah.
I mean,
literally.
A couple weeks ago, it was with me and a couple other the boys. We were on a creek, and it only took us about 18 inches.
Right.
But
well, and what's crazy,
bedrock. The area we got down to, hey, it wasn't the right bedrock. It was smooth, but we did find some rotten quartz.
Right, and that's.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy,
Good
James.
sign, wrong spot.
Right.
Move up creek, move down creek. We'll move around a little bit next time we get over there. But that depends on if you are digging in the creek or if you're up
Big
on
time.
a bank, up on a bench.
Yeah.
That hole that Jared and I were digging in for the tree, we ended up flooding it with water, and we found out where it drained into the hole right below it, off the cliff.
Wow.
So. It had.
Did you dig at the bottom there too, or
fire season came in and kind of
So it screwed the season, but essentially, it's there. We had what was really cool is we were actually running about a 5.5 foot slab of freaking rock, and we were digging on that downward until we got to the bottom. Unfortunately, fire season kicked in and a whole lot of other situations happened and we weren't able to get to the bottom. But, as we dug more and more, we were starting to get bigger and bigger pieces in the pan. So we knew we were on the right path. Unfortunately, just wasn't able to happen. And, those things happen, but, and next season, it's only going to get better. It's only going to get much better. But, to dig back to that situation, I just had a very amazing interview with a guy goes by the name of Elijah White, and he's based out of Quartzsite, Arizona. Nice. And his bedrock is 20 feet down.
Wow.
20 feet down. So he is, I would. Pockets? What's that?
Is he hunting pockets at that depth?
Yeah, so he's hunting pockets, and I would consider him a hard rock miner. He is, he considers himself a hard rock miner. I've watched his videos, all the stuff that he does, and, yeah, he has to go down 20 feet. So, I mean, to answer that question as well, Rick, is, and I know Rick. I've seen all his stuff you post. You're a badass in your own right, brother. As far as Canada, with what's going on with Billiam, yeah, it's 3.5 to 4, and that's the max you can go, unfortunately.
Without permits, yeah.
Without permits, right. So let's see here. So Joe Brickner says, far as the gold tells you to, once the gold stops, you stop. Yes, indeed. Let's see. Oh, I love you guys. I love you guys so much. My goodness, man. I love the Prospecting Buddy family. Holy hell. Let's see here. So we got a few more questions and we'll hit a break real quick. Dave says, y'all ever do well detecting? So I'll answer that quick. I only got about half a minute before I can be done with my answer, to be honest. I dove deep into it. Didn't have luck worth shit. I enjoyed putting some dirt in a pan and rolling it around more than I did actually going to town. And me and James have a really good friend, Adam. He doesn't like to be in quote unquote spotlight or anything like that. He's kind of behind the scenes. He's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, behind the curtain kind of guy. He's in all of our digs. He has joined every single dig that Prospecting Buddy for last season has brought on to the PB family. Amazing guy, down to earth, heart of gold. But it's funny. We were going out over to James's area and having some fun as brothers, digging for gold and whatnot. And I swear, man, all I heard was bop, 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 bop. I'm like, at the end of the third day, I wanted to break that fucking metal detector in half because I was done with the damn sound of that thing. But I know that he was having fun, and so I was like, all right, just leave it be. It is what it is. And at the end of the day, I know I'm going to jump back into it. I know I'm going to enjoy it, but there's a time and a place for myself to get back into it. As of right now, I got good spots where I can bring my shovel in and go to town and find good gold. So it's only a matter of time, and I'm sure James, Billiam, I'm sure that eventually, I don't know if you guys are big metal detectors, but I know you guys will get into the craft sooner or later.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I use one, and I have my pinpointer too. I use them more for locating just a mineral deposit. You know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah. There you go.
It just is more of a general tool in my arsenal. I don't nugget hunt with them, but also my area, Montana, isn't really known for nugget hunting. That's not what we got. It's the smaller gold. So really, if you're going to hit my state in this area with the detector, you better have that $2,000 or $3,000 thing.
Yeah.
Right.
To
go down deep. Yeah.
Yeah, to go deep.
Yeah. I found my dad's septic tank lid with my metal detector.
There you go. I found a missing bolt to my dredge. I used it to find a missing bolt to the dredge recently. It's a tool in the arsenal for me. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. Let's see. We got a few more questions here, or a few more comments. Excuse me. Let's see here. So we got Rob says, hell yeah, Prospecting Buddy. Hey, man, we love you, Rob. We do. Let's see here. My mom's on the podcast. Hey, Mom, I love you. I hope you're still on the podcast. Good to see you. I love you to death. Sorry I didn't call today. I was super busy. Had to get that out there real quick. I love you. I'm going to be in trouble if I don't. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. Jay says, I went 3 feet down and hit a white clay area, and they say it was from Mount St. Helena eruptions. That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Most definitely. Let's see. Rick says, question, do you find better gold in the rocky bars just off the low water creek or off to the side towards the timber and dirt line? I'm going to chime in real quick, and then I'm going to shoot it straight over to Billiam and then shoot it over to James. Me personally, with where I'm digging, I've had much better luck in the timber line, in the dirt line than the creek. Reason being is because up north, thousands of people have dug exactly where I dig. And one thing that I've learned over the years, with personal family members of mine that I've obviously spoke about in previous podcasts, told me gold is where you find it. And I can't express that enough. Yep. When you dig in spots you don't think it's going to be, it could be there. And I've had really good luck with the timber line, with the higher quote unquote benchmark, with spots that the water line originally was at, but since erosion and foliage and stuff like that, it doesn't look like it. But that doesn't mean gold's not there. So like I was talking on a previous podcast, I said, if you're at a spot that you've been digging for a while and you don't find gold as much as you were, start doing a grid line. That's something I learned from James and a book that he brought on to me. Start a grid line. Start from one hole or a hole that you've been digging and go 4 feet east. Go another 4 feet east and go out to whatever you want to go east and come back and go north and come back and go west and south. And that, with the composition of the dirt, the composition of the clay layer, whatever it may be, it'll speak to you. It'll tell you, hey, okay, the gold is looking a lot better over here than it is over here. So let's keep following it this way. Right. So, it all depends on the area you're working. It'll always depend on the area you're working. Compared to Pacific Northwest and Arizona, it's a night and day, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it always depends on how much you test, how you test, and you always go from there. So Billiam, do you have any kind of examples of something that you would typically do when you find a new piece of ground?
Well, if I'm out prospecting, like I already stated before, some of the things I look for. And so I do the same thing. I will start in one spot and I'll mark it somehow, whether it be with an extra classifier or just a trowel shovel, something. I mark it.
Right.
And then I continue on up the creek or down the creek or side to side. And I just kind of move that grid up or down, depending on what I'm finding.
Right.
And with creeks, it's tough because in the springtime, if you have a heavy snowfall, let's say, and then a quick summer, you get a massive flood. And if it is gold bearing, it's not going to deposit that gold in the same spot. That one boulder, say, that you were looking at, or that one tree area that you were looking at one year, it could be bare the next year. And it just keeps moving. So, yeah, exactly. The grid system, however it be, whether you do it on paper, do pin drop on your phone, like for your location.
Right.
Just mark it and remember it. If it's your claim, you're going to know your claim anyways. So yeah, I haven't really, especially around here, prospected enough to say that I've found gold in one spot better than the other on the creeks here, only because every year it changes.
Right.
Yeah.
James, you want to go ahead and chime in real quick?
Yeah. It's something keeps coming back to me from what Dave said a couple episodes ago. A lot of us, we're gonna always look on the outside or the inside of that corner of that bend, right? I'm a lot with Dave anymore is look in what isn't the most likely spot for the gold to be, because maybe it's the spot that the least amount of people looked before.
Yeah, nobody checks.
Yeah, it might not hold what that boulder may have held. But since it's never been touched, because nobody wants to look there, it might pan out really well for you. Another thing I'm really big on, learn how to read a topographic map, please.
Yeah.
If you start reading those topo maps and you learn them, you can see where that creek was a million years ago.
Right.
And once you learn that, then you can start going, I'm going to go look for that high bench. Where a boulder is exposed 200, 300 feet up the hillside.
Crevice on the bottom hillside.
It's all round and everything else around is like all sharp and flat. Then you start moving that stuff away and you start seeing the cobble and you're like, hey, the creek was over here. Let's start digging. We're not that far away. In the creeks, if we're gonna just say we're dredging in the creek, I love finding an exposed piece of bedrock off to the creek side that's jutting out into the creek, and I try to follow that to the
Follow
deepest
that bad boy
point.
down. Yep.
That's what I go for.
Yep.
And hopefully we find little bowl holes in it or cracks in it. The most recent one was pure smooth, crack shoot. That's what it is, but that's what we're doing when we're dredging. Read those maps, and the gold, they say, is where other people have found it, and then look in that least likely spot.
Gold is where you find it.
Another really good one, hand stacked tailing piles.
Yeah.
Most of the time, nobody even thought about where they were stacking it, so that you know that whatever was underneath it has
Shannon made it good.
Plus weather over all that time. The gold that's sitting in that tailing pile, what's it going to do? Specific gravity is going to make it settle.
Yep.
Now that's going to be there as well. Whatever those old timers missed, move that tailings pile, especially if it's under claim.
Well, and the cool thing is we had Shannon from AMRA as our first podcast, and we're going to have him on in the next few weeks again. But that's something that he brought up, and that's wherever they were dumping those tailings piles. How do we know if they've dug that ground before they put the tailings piles there?
That's right. Yeah.
That's what I'm getting.
So that's always an extra option to be able to adventure in. When you're out and about looking, you see a nice fat tailings pile, try to get below it. Try to see if there's any virgin ground underneath it, because 9 out of 10 times the old timers, they didn't dig that ground, and you might have had a couple handfuls of people that dug underneath it, but not very well, or didn't dig underneath it at all. Because the common assumption is, well, if they put their tailings piles there, there's not going to be any gold underneath it. Well, that's exactly the wrong thing to think about. That's 100% the wrong thing to think about. So I'm glad we were able to touch on that subject. We have a few more comments, and then I got to go take a leak like you wouldn't believe. Let's see here. Joe Brickner had a question, but that is on the second half of the podcast. Let's see. Dave says, is there ever any NorCal PB meetups? Dave, that's a good thing that you asked. I'm in works right now with a guy up in Northern California, and then a guy down in Southern California, with a couple of PB meetups, possibly. We tried something, and I'm not going to get into specific details, but we tried something back east. It was too expensive. It didn't work out. I got to look into PB's best interest at the end of the day. We're not in this for advancement on any type of monetary or anything like that. We're in advancement to change the rules and regulations, and to change the way that people think and have thought for hundreds of years. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be a lot of miners that say, you know what, I'm still going to continue to do my own thing. And that's perfectly okay. But, in this day and age, we have an opportunity at our fingertips to be able to change a lot of different things. And so as far as the digs going over in California, digs going over back east, it's all in the works. Like I was saying earlier, we're all in our infancy right now, 3.1K members, and we continue to grow. But the more we grow, the more we meet amazing, awesome people, just as Billiam himself and all the other amazing people we've had on the podcast. We continue this positive snowball effect to where we meet these amazing people, and we're able to not only change our aspect on a lot of things with what we do, but we're able to do these group digs in different spots, different states and different provinces and stuff like that. So it's only a matter of time before we do have one up there. So good question. I'm hoping that, what I explained better answered your question. Let's see here. Let's see. Chuck says, okay, brothers, I'm off for the night. I'll catch up in the AM. Chuck, you have a wonderful night, brother, man. Let's see. Let's see. Rick says, thank you, Jaron, James, and Billiam. Pretty much what I do, but I never focus enough on the timberline. Focus a little more, brother, man. Just try. Steven says, found good gold untouched everground. Would have never thought glacial deposits. Brother, you are right on the money, man. Let's see. Rob says, I got my White's Goldmaster because it has a black sand tracker. You can put a flag on the highest reading of black sand and mark the pay streak on gravel bars and dry washes. That is badass. I need one of those.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Michael says, I like to test the creek to see if there's gold there, but they only give machine permits to dig in the timberline, so you need to check those side areas. Correct, Amundo, brother man. Let's see. Chuck says, Joe Brickner, I'll start the collection for you. Rick says, I've met a handful of awesome guys from this Prospecting Buddies group, and it's only a matter of time before you meet more, brother man. We have Paul, Mr. Paul, love you, brother. I don't know if you're watching or not. He'll be out at a meeting in California. We sent out some gear for him to give away. It was just an XL PB t-shirt to be able to give away if he does run into other PB members. So with that last comment, I'm going to say one last little teaser. Here soon, James is going to be Sergio, Steven. We're going to be posting random little tidbits in the PB group. Post a picture of you wearing your PB swag, and you're entered to win this, or you're entered to win that. So a lot of fun, cool things going on this winter time as we get into it. Awesome. Yeah, hey, Paul's right there. He said, I am on. Good deal, Paul. But yeah, like I said, there's going to be a lot of really cool things going on. I can't say too much. I don't want to spoil too much of it. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and take a 5-minute break real quick. So go ahead and grab yourself a drink of water, grab yourself a bathroom break, whatever. And then for the second half, we have some really, really good detailed questions for Billiam. So I hope you're up for it, brother man.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
All right, good deal. All right, well, I will see everybody in 5 minutes. What's going on, everybody? We are back for tonight's podcast with Mr. Billiam from Billiams Golden Tales, co-host James Dale, brother man.
Hey.
So we have the second half of the podcast we're going to have to get through. I'm just kidding. We love to get through. So with what we were saying earlier, I want to go ahead and touch on another specific topic for the second half of the podcast, Mr. Billiam. And that is prospecting equipment. Okay, so that entails with different types of pans that we use, different types of classifiers, something that's easier than obviously harder to be able to test. With different compositions of dirt and stuff like that. So with that being said, what would you specifically, and I know everybody has different opinions on what they start with and what they use, what would you specifically use to go out and test new ground?
Okay, well, I take only a handful of things, really. And a crowbar is one, for sure. Trowel shovel. A 1/2-inch classifier, just in case. You never know if you're going to get a nugget. So
right.
I always go with a 1/2-inch, especially if I'm testing new ground. It depends on the area, though. So if I'm going to an area with lots of sand, like heavy sands and clays, then I usually don't use a classifier at all. I just throw everything in the pan and use your hands, right?
Pan it out yourself.
What else do I use? Oh, and then just a small shovel and a backpack and my vape.
So I know, right? Everybody either brings a pack of cigs or a vape, one of the two, right?
Exactly.
So as far as
spare battery,
yeah, and not get it wet like
That's
I do
right.
all the freaking time, man. Holy shit. Never fails, man. I'm fanning that fucking thing out for about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But so as far as the pans go, is there any specific brand that you would recommend that you use up there in Canada, or something that works really well for you? Or do you kind of go toward the generic aspect of pans and use those?
For me, because I've been working with my hands my whole life, and I know the arthritis thing, I usually use a 14-inch pan, like a Garrett 14-inch, the Gold Trap.
There you
That's
go.
my go-to. I don't overload it. I just, nice and
Just enough, right?
Just enough. I love my 15-inch super sluice. It is a beast of a pan. That 15-inch Mine Lab that I won through you guys, Prospecting Buddy, that thing is a beast as well. Love it. It's awesome.
Hard on the hands, though.
No, hard on the hands, yeah. I tried to do it with one hand. It didn't work out very well.
Yeah.
But I just got given to me a couple of old-fashioned tin pans.
Oh, wow.
I'm digging those. Those are kind of cool. I like the sound it makes, and the
right
back and forth.
Right.
But for pans, pretty much anything. Like I've seen people pan in a bloody frying pan. I've seen people pan
in
a 2-liter bottle cut in half. Like you can exactly.
Yeah.
So it could be done, but
shake it up and down, baby.
That's right.
If a certain brand of gold pan maker wants to go ahead and sponsor Billiam, then I'll use their pan. That's for sure.
And that's the thing with PB is, eventually we want to start jumping into sponsorship.
Yeah.
We want to do it the right way for one and first and foremost. And secondly, we want to make sure that it benefits the entire PB family, right? We don't want it just to benefit me, James, Sergio, the people who help with the PB family. We want to make sure that shit benefits the entire family, right?
Absolutely.
Because the way I look at it is, if I run into a sponsorship for us, or James runs into a sponsorship for us, or Sergio, or whoever else, I want to make sure that sponsorship is for our entire family. So anybody can jump onto whoever's website and get that deal and be able to purchase that equipment through the deal that we have with our sponsorship, right? That's the only way that we're going to accept a sponsorship, because what's the point of having it benefit just one of us if it doesn't benefit the PB family itself? This doesn't make sense. Yeah. It does not freaking make sense. To me, it never would make sense, right? But what's funny that we're on the pan subject. A really, really good friend of mine that I am, that I met not too long ago. I just want to put out a tiny little spoiler real quick. We got something very special.
Look at that.
That's special. Nice. To do something. I can't say like literally anything about it. I can just show you. I'm going to show you one last time.
Yeah.
One last time.
Wow. I know too.
But we have something. Yeah, we have something very special going on here soon with the PB family. It's our way of saying thank you for everything that you guys do in the PB family. It's going to be a very special giveaway, but I can't say any more. I'm gonna get slapped in the face.
Too much. You just want to be quiet, Jabbermouth.
Yeah, I will do that. So on to the next subject. Okay, so Billiam has explained specifically what he uses when he goes out and tests. I'm sure everybody else has their own little pan that they use. We had a question real quick that I did want to discuss since we are on the subject. Has anyone used the banjo pan? So me personally, I haven't. Billiam, no you haven't. James hasn't. The thing is with different types of pans to use, I've kind of talked with everybody helping out with the PB family and the page. Here soon, we're going to be having kind of an adaptive part with PB, and that'll be different pans we test out to let all of you guys know how it worked for us on the YouTube channel. It'll be different pans, different mineral compositions. Why do I keep doing that, James? Why do I say compositions?
I don't know why you say compositions.
For the freaking life of me, man. Slap me. Jeez Louise.
I can't.
Holy shit.
I can't reach that high, for one.
Just go right through the camera, right?
I can't reach up that high. What are you talking about?
You're right. Get back to the Shire, damn it. But we're gonna have some really cool videos come springtime of testing out different pans, different mineral compositions, just to kind of help some of the newer guys, what to look for, what kind of pan you want to start out with, and stuff like that. That'll be another adaptive thing we do for the YouTube channel for all of the PB family. But aside from that, our next question that I saw in the comments that we have to ask, and it's something that I ask every single one of our guests on the show: what is your best day you've had panning or whatever else? What is the best gold take you've brought home, Billiam?
Well, your videos there are starting to cut out, but if you can hear me, it was up in the Yukon, and I think we had done about 6.5, 7 grams in an afternoon just panning. It was around there. We didn't have a scale or anything like that. But this guy that I met there, he's an old trapper fella, took us out to a certain spot, and he said, "Try here, boys." And yeah, there was shiny everywhere. So that was cool.
Wow.
Here in BC, it was with couple of friends of mine just last year down on the Ponderay River, and I think we did, it was like 1.5 grams, just under 2 grams, but one of those pieces was a nugget. So I mean,
wow,
kind of nugget, it's awesome, right? So,
oh yeah.
Anytime there's a nugget.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely amazing. So my second to last question for the podcast here for the second half. So the main thing I wanted to ask after the fact is, do you have any future plans for any other types of claims that you want to jump on, purchase, work, anything like that? Do you have any other plans to come into the United States and specific states you want to kind of explore a little bit? What kind of plans do you have for your future as far as prospecting goes?
Well, there's a couple claims here in Trail that I really, really want to jump on the Columbia River. They're historic. It's a historic part in Fort Shepherd. Yeah, you can look it up. It's amazing. I think it was 1853 or 1856 is when they were starting to find big gold there.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just love it over there. It's amazing. As for coming to the States, I got to get a few things checked out before I decide to hop on across the border. But I'd love to just go straight south into down into Idaho and Washington and on Oregon. I want to follow the Columbia River out to the Pacific and just pan and just do a trip like that for sure. Yeah,
no, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Yeah. I'd love you to come join me up north and do some panning with me, do some videos, and
that would be amazing.
Yeah,
I'll jump on that northbound train anytime.
I know you will, James. I know you will, brother man.
On that headlight. Here we go.
So the final and last question I do have to ask for the podcast: what made you come up with Billiams Golden Tales?
Oh boy!
What got you to the point?
Well, it started out quite a few years ago, and I was working in Vancouver, and a good friend of mine, Alex, he had a hard time remembering names, and he always talked in like an old-timey prospector voice. He liked to mimic voices. And one day, I guess he was trying to call me Bill, and then he knew that was wrong, so he called me Phil, and then Will, and then just William popped out, and it stuck. I kind of got the nickname of Billiam, and yeah, it just stuck. And I thought, wow, Billiams Golden Tales. Like, it just sounds good, just recording myself as this quirky sort of guy out there. I'm more myself out there when I'm alone than I am at work, kind of thing, right?
And in society, correct.
I know that feeling exactly.
Yeah.
I understand you.
Yeah. And so, being a little bit of a weird fella, I thought, wow, that name is suited, right?
No, I love it.
Hang out.
Yeah, I love
it. Hang out.
I love it. No, so for anybody watching the podcast this evening, you definitely want to go over there and subscribe to his channel. It's called Billiams Golden Tales. It's on YouTube. He's an awesome guy, down to earth, and his videos are absolutely amazing. He has different techniques that he uses throughout his videos. And he's on the creek quite a bit. I mean, he's out there doing his thing, and who knows, you might pick up a technique that you see him use, and it'll probably help you in the long run, So for anybody watching, jump over to Billiams Golden Tales on YouTube and go ahead and subscribe. He has awesome videos, and he also does. He also has different books that he reads chapters out of that has absolutely amazing stories and amazing storytelling as well that he does with those stories. So make sure you jump over there and show him some love. That would be absolutely amazing. With that being said, I think the podcast has been absolutely phenomenal. Billiam, I'm going to get you on another episode, so be looking out for that in the future. James,
I love it.
James, I love you, brother.
Hey, man, I love you.
And we will see each other soon.
I know.
Oh yeah, you already know, brother. For everybody watching, just for a quick little juicy, I don't know what you would call it, but we have a giveaway going on this Sunday. Everybody has spoken. The PB family has spoken.
1 p.m. this Sunday,
yeah.
PST.
Yes.
That is Pacific Standard Time to all you people in the woods.
In the woods, out in the bush. So
Sunday, the bush, on the creek, in the sands, out on the ocean, wherever you may be looking for your gold.
Yeah.
1 p.m. Sunday giveaway. Be there or be Devil's Dice.
Be Devil's Dice. That's a good one. So with that being said, I want to just show two things out of this whole box of things that we got to give away. We got some absolutely amazing things to give away. I'm not going to show you everything, so don't even think that I'm going to show you everything, okay? So I'm going to show you some of the cooler items that we got going on here. I don't want to show too much because I don't want to give away too much. But I'm going to do it quickly too. We got one of those. We got one of those.
Oh.
We got one of these.
I saw that. Buckets, please.
Here we go. This is going to be super quick. We got one of those.
Oh.
All right, that's it. I should have only showed two, but I showed three. So, and then, I got to show a little bit more. I'm sorry. We got a little bit of that good stuff sitting in there to give away as well.
Oh, man.
Yep. So, everybody.
I do not accept bribes, so don't try to go.
Ditto.
I do not accept bribes.
No bribes. Zero bribes. All you have to do is show up, show your love to the PB family, jump on that live broadcast. We're going to have a lot of fun on Sunday. It'll probably run for a couple of hours. So I'm hoping that I see everybody there. Billiam, I hope I see you there.
Will. I'm there.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, James.
I appreciate you guys. You guys have a good night. Billiam, you have a good night, and I will see you guys Sunday.